teammate Tony Stewart got into the wall, but you can see it turns Ryan Newman around. As soon as it does, it's almost like that wing acts as to help to lift the car up. Lands on Kevin Harvick's hood.
NASCAR has seen some insane moments over the years. Moments so rare, so wild, you have to see them to believe them. From cars literally riding the wall to a driver running to the finish line on foot, today we're counting down 10 1-in-1-million NASCAR moments. Buckle up, because this is gonna be crazy. 10. Sterling Marlin fixes his own car under red flag. Imagine leading the 2002 Daytona 500, the biggest race of the year, and then losing it because you tried to fix your own car? With less than 10 laps to go, Sterling Marlin was in prime position to win his first Daytona 500. A massive crash had just happened, bringing out a red flag, which meant all cars had to stop on the track until the race could resume. But Marlin had a problem. His front fender was bent and rubbing against his tire, and he knew that if he restarted like that, he'd lose speed and possibly wreck. And here's where things took a shocking turn. Marlin got out of his car under red flag conditions and physically tried to pull the fender away with his hands. The problem? That's completely against NASCAR rules. Drivers are not allowed to work on their cars during a red flag. Officials quickly caught what Marlin was doing and hit him with a penalty that sent him to the back of the field. Just like that, his shot at winning the biggest race of his career disappeared. It was one of the most gut-wrenching mistakes in NASCAR history, one that will never be forgotten. A 1-in-1-million mistake that cost him the biggest win of his career. 9. Aric Almirola declared the winner, despite not finishing the race. Imagine winning a race without even being in the car at the finish. Aric Almirola had a golden opportunity to win his first NASCAR race when he started for Joe Gibbs Racing at the Milwaukee Mile in 2007. But there was one problem. His team actually wanted Cup Series driver Denny Hamlin in the car instead. Hamlin was flying in from a Cup race and was running late. So, even though Almirola qualified on the pole and was leading laps, the team decided to take him out mid-race under caution and swap him with Hamlin. Hamlin got in and drove the car to victory, but under NASCAR's rules, the driver who starts the race gets credit for the win, which meant that despite being nowhere near the car at the finish, Almirola was officially the winner. It should have been a career-changing moment for him, but he was furious that he didn't get to actually take the checkered flag himself. To this day, it's one of the weirdest victories in NASCAR history. 8. The pace car catches on fire. You expect race cars to catch fire, but the pace car? That's not supposed to happen. Right before the 2014 NASCAR All-Star race, fans and drivers were getting ready for an exciting night of racing. The Chevrolet SS pace car was leading the field on parade laps when suddenly it burst into flames. Smoke started pouring out from under the hood, and within seconds, actual flames were licking up from the engine. NASCAR officials rushed to get the driver out, while safety crews scrambled to put out the fire. The race hadn't even started yet, and already chaos was unfolding. The bizarre incident delayed the race, and NASCAR had to bring in a backup pace car to get things back on track. Later, it was revealed that an electrical short had caused the fire. But still, how often do you see the pace car itself become the first caution of the race? That's a 1-in-1-million moment if I've ever seen one. 7. Carl Edwards runs to the finish line on foot. When you wreck out of a race, most drivers get out, take a deep breath, and walk to the ambulance. But Carl Edwards, he ran to the finish line. It was the final lap at Talladega in 2009, and Carl Edwards was leading with Brad Keselowski right behind him. Coming to the checkered flag, Keselowski made a move for the lead. Edwards saw it and tried to block, but instead of stopping Keselowski, the block backfired in the worst way possible. Keselowski clipped Edwards' car, sending him flying straight into the catch fence in a terrifying crash. His car flipped, spun, and came to a rest in a heap of metal. The race was over. Keselowski took the win. But then, in a moment that looked like something out of a movie, Carl Edwards climbed out, dusted himself off, and started running toward the finish line on foot. The crowd erupted, and cameras followed him as he sprinted down the track. Of course, NASCAR didn't count it, but Edwards had just pulled off one of the wildest finishes ever. 6. Darrell Waltrip's fuel mileage miracle. Winning the Daytona 500 is about speed, but sometimes it's about who can stretch a gallon of gas the furthest. The 1989 Daytona 500 was a battle of speed and strategy. With just a few laps to go, Darrell Waltrip was leading, but there was a problem. his fuel gauge was dangerously low. Other drivers started pitting, playing it safe. Waltrip, though, he gambled. He stayed out, hoping he had just enough fuel left to make it. With 2 laps to go, his engine started sputtering. He backed off the gas, trying to stretch it as much as he could. Somehow, he made it all the way to the finish line. It was his first and only Daytona 500 win, and the moment was so emotional, he broke out into a victory dance called the Icky Shuffle. 5. Richard Petty's final win. When you think of NASCAR legends, one name stands above the rest: Richard Petty. And his 200th win? It was straight out of Hollywood. It was July 4th, 1984, and Daytona International Speedway was packed with fans. Even President Ronald Reagan was in attendance. Petty and Cale Yarborough were in a classic duel in the closing laps, trading the lead back and forth. Then, with 2 laps to go, a crash happened behind them, and the caution came out. Back in the 80s, NASCAR didn't have green-white checkered finishes. When a caution came out, the field was frozen. Whoever was leading at that moment would win the race, and that leader, Richard Petty. This became his 200th and final career win, cementing his place as one of the greatest drivers in NASCAR history. 4. Juan Pablo Montoya hits the jet dryer. One of the weirdest crashes in NASCAR history wasn't between 2 cars, it was between a race car and a jet dryer. The 2012 Daytona 500 was already a wild race. It had rain delays, crashes, and unpredictability. But what happened under caution was something nobody had ever seen before. Under yellow flag conditions, Juan Pablo Montoya's car suddenly snapped loose on the backstretch. It wasn't near any other cars, he was just cruising around the track. But in a freak accident, his car slammed into a jet dryer truck, which was on the track to clean debris. The impact was huge, but what happened next was terrifying. The jet dryer exploded into a massive fireball. The truck, carrying hundreds of gallons of jet fuel, ignited instantly, creating a fire so intense that the race had to be stopped for over 2 hours. Thankfully, both Montoya and the track worker inside the jet dryer escaped without serious injuries. But the wreck left a massive scorched hole in the track, and crews had to quickly patch it up just so the race could continue. It was a scene straight out of a Hollywood action movie, a 1 in 1 million moment that no one could believe actually happened. 3. Dale Earnhardt's last-to-first comeback. Dale Earnhardt was called the Intimidator for a reason, and this race was one of his greatest moments. By the time Talladega 2000 rolled around, Dale Earnhardt was already a NASCAR legend. But this race proved why he was one of the best to ever do it. With just 4 laps to go, Earnhardt was stuck in 18th place. It seemed impossible for him to make up that many positions in such little time, especially at a track where drafting is everything. But in classic Intimidator fashion, Earnhardt sliced through the field like a master chess player, making bold, aggressive moves in every corner. He drafted with cars, side-drafted others, and somehow passed 17 cars in just 4 laps. By the time the white flag flew, Earnhardt was in the lead. A lap later, he crossed the finish line first in one of the most jaw-dropping comebacks in NASCAR history. The crowd went absolutely wild. It was his 76th and final career victory, and one that cemented his reputation as one of the greatest of all time. 2. Mark Martin stops too early. When you're leading a race, the worst thing you could do is stop too soon. And unfortunately, that's exactly what Mark Martin did. The 1994 Bristol Xfinity race was Martin's to lose. He had led the most laps and had built up a comfortable lead in the closing stages. All he had to do was finish the last lap and take the checkered flag. But with 1 lap to go, Martin thought the race was already over. He came off turn 4, slowed down, and pulled off the track, thinking he had won. But there was just one problem. The race wasn't over yet. The field sped past him, and David Green took the win while Martin sat there, realizing his mistake. By the time he realized what happened, it was too late. His team radioed him frantically, but all he could do was shake his head in disbelief. Stopping 1 lap too soon in any race is bad, but doing it at Bristol, under the lights, when victory was right there, that's a 1 in 1 million mistake. 1. The Ross Chastain Hail Melon Wall Ride. No words can describe how insane this was. You just have to see it to believe it. The 2022 Martinsville playoff race was do or die for Ross Chastain. He needed 2 more positions on the final lap to advance to the championship 4. And in a moment of sheer desperation, he did something that looked like a video game glitch. Coming into the final corner, Chastain floored the gas, slammed his car against the wall, and rode at full throttle past 5 cars. The entire crowd, the broadcasters, even his own team, couldn't believe what they were seeing. The move was something you'd expect to see in a NASCAR video game, not real life. He gained enough positions to advance and set the fastest lap ever recorded at Martinsville Speedway, faster than any qualifying lap in history. The move was so shocking that NASCAR banned it the following year, making sure no one else could ever pull off the Hail Melon again. And just like that, Ross Chastain had cemented himself in NASCAR history with one of the craziest, most unbelievable moves ever. NASCAR has given us some wild moments, but these are the rarest of the rare. What's your favorite 1 in 1 million moment? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more NASCAR content.